Hello, and thanks for tuning into 𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗵𝗁 Media. It's Thursday, the 10th of February, 2022, and I'm your host, Markey. On Valentine's night in 1981, fire tore through the Stardust Nightclub in Dublin, killing 48 young people and injuring over 200 more. Since then, the survivors and the families of the victims have been campaigning for a fair and a transparent inquest into what happened to their loved ones. And to this day, they have not got that inquest. On this coming Sunday, there is a vigil at the site of the Stardust Nightclub to commemorate and to remember all those who lost their lives, and also hopefully to put a push on politicians to try to get this inquest over the line, started and finished, so that families can get some kind of resolution. I'm joined this evening by Antoinette Keegan, who has been campaigning for 40 years. Antoinette is a survivor of the Stardust Nightclub fire herself, and she lost two sisters in that fire as well. Antoinette, thanks for joining us this evening.
Thanks very much, Wimber.
Antoinette, you've been campaigning for 40 years. It seems that obstacle after obstacle after obstacle has been put in your way. You had a little bit of good news today. What is that news?
Yeah, we got great news yesterday, just before we went into the preliminary hearing in the RDS for the Stardust. And we were like, it was confirmed that our next venue would be the Rotunda. And like, we're happy like that, at least we have a venue now, but there is other issues that they're standing and they have to be rectified, and solutions has to be put like to correct. Like, these are important, like insofar as the jury selection, insofar as the jury payment. These inquests is going to go on possibly for 3 to 6 months. And we need to know, right, that if a jury is selected, that the duration of the inquest, that they're going to be there and they don't drop out and say that they can't afford to stay on the jury. And then we're back to square one with more obstacles thrown in our way.
So one of the issues is that at the moment, it looks like the jury won't be paid at all. And yet they're going to be asked to come out for maybe possibly 6 months to sit in an inquest. That in itself might impact just the fairness of the whole process, do you think? Like, what average man or woman, and it's supposed to be our peers that are on the jury, so people like us. So what average man or woman could take out 6 months of their lives unpaid to sit on a jury? I'm just not sure how that's going to work. Has there been any sign of resolution or any sign that they're going to try and sort it out?
No, that we're working on it at the moment, right? Like, so far, right, we've had so many obstacles in our way, like with the free legal aid, we overcome that with the regulations being changed. So it's more or less a situation, because this is the biggest inquest in the history of the state. Like, the regulations has to be changed for an exception of this inquest, because this has never happened before. So they literally have to change the regulations, right, for this, and dot the I's and cross the T's, right, to ensure that this inquest goes ahead, right, without anything like obstacles or anything impeding it. We need to have this done. And like, we can't go forward, right, if there is going to be a jury selected and there's no money, like, no, they're not getting wages, they're not getting their employment money because they're on a jury and it could last for 3 to 6 months. It's not possible for anyone to do, because you need an income to pay our outcome. So we literally need, right, for some resolution to be sorted insofar as, right, that the governments, right, between the Oireachtas and the Seanad put an agreement in place, right, that for this particular inquest, right, that there is a resolution, right, whereby the funding that was given from the budget that will come out of that, right, for any juror, right, that is going to sit on the inquest, right, that they will receive their income if the employment, right, ceases to pay them while they're on the inquest. Or if they're working for Apple or somewhere like that and they're selected, like big places like that could afford to pay them. But everyone is struggling at the moment and nobody is finding it easy to pay bills. So if you're left with no income for 3 to 6 months, right, you would actually be crippled that you like, and it is the right thing to do to go for an inquest, right, or a jury for the inquest for the Stardust victims. But it's not the right thing to leave yourself sinking in a hole, right, that you can't get out.
And the thing is that the politicians are handsomely paid, and ultimately it's up to them to sort these things out. I think your campaign has broken so many barriers. As an example, what you just cited earlier in relation to free legal aid, that they were not going to give legal aid for the families and the victims. And you broke that golden rule, and you have achieved that. So I'm hoping and I'm praying that anybody watching this, particularly politicians, will get the bravery inside themselves to say, okay, we broke that rule in good faith because these families deserve it, and it's the least that we can do for them. And hopefully they're going to not break a rule, I shouldn't say that, but create new rules and be a little bit more flexible when it comes to the paying of a jury. There are other issues that are coming up as well, Antoinette. I know that the Butterleys who owned the nightclub fire, and who maybe you could say they are on the back foot in terms of having to defend themselves, because I believe that families feel that they did not do what they were supposed to do in terms of maintaining and having the proper fire and emergency systems in place on the night. They're trying to limit the scope now of the inquiry, I believe. Could you maybe let us know a little bit about that?
I certainly can. The limited scope was done a good few months ago, right? And everyone on the legal teams of each individual parties had the opportunity to put the scope forward. They all had their opportunity. Insofar as the owner, like with his scope, right, that he wants to get this thing removed, he's out of time on it. And like bringing the past back into this is a new thing, right? This is not a tribunal inquiry where arson was like the cause of the fire. This is a new inquest, right, that has been set up for the 48 victims to vindicate and validate their rights to life. This is to get their verdict. It's not about him and what he wants. This is about the 48 that was killed in the Stardust. And they have their right to life, which was taken away from them 40 years ago, almost 41 years ago. They have that there that they can speak, but we're going to speak for them. And nobody should interfere in their right to life and say that they want this taken off because it doesn't constitute the law. All the verdicts that's in law, right, which is on the inquest, right, for the jury to decide, right, they're there and nobody can take any of them off. They're the list of the verdicts, and no one has the right, whether it's somebody that's defending himself or someone that wants it removed. It doesn't happen that way. The law stands as the law stands, and the verdict stays, and that's it.
And what is it specific that he wants removed? I think it's something to do with unlawful killing, or what was it again?
Well, he tried to distinguish it, he tried to disguise it and mention sections and sections of different acts, and he wants that taken out. It's actually unlawful killing. But at the end of the day, right, we haven't got a choice, right? We can't say that it's getting taken out or it's getting left in. It's part of the Coroner's Act. All verdicts stand and no one can get it removed. Is
this maybe a delaying tactic on his part to try to...
It could be, right, but look, we're not going to be delayed any longer. Once we have everything in process, right, he can play his little games that he wants to play, right? Us families have suffered for 41 years, and it's now their time to find out what happened to our loved ones. He can play his tiddlywinks and snakes and ladders, wherever he wants to play. This is not a game for us. This is what we wanted. This is what we fought for.
And it's he that we're talking about. Is it Eamon Butterley?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just on an aside, Antoinette, in the nearly 41 years that have passed, has Eamon Butterley ever given any sign of remorse or sadness or even sorrow, or to say that he was sorry for what happened? Was there, in all that time that you're aware of, has he ever expressed any remorse for what happened?
No, never. In actual fact, on the 25th anniversary, he wants to open a pub on the site where the Stardust was. And it was actually a sister pub of the Stardust. It was called the Silver Swan. And there was another, venue, or another place there called the Lantern Rooms. That was another venue. And he went and put the sign up Silver Swan. And when I heard about it, I hadn't been on that premises in 25 years. And I never wanted to know about the Stardust. But when I heard about like that he was trying to open a pub, right, that I used to frequent before I went into the Stardust, like I just drove down and I said, right, I said, this is not going to happen. He is not doing this. Like he's trying to rub salt into the wound, right, opening a pub, right, where people went before they went to the Stardust. So like I got a major protest going down there, and like people was there every evening, right, from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and it went on for 13 weeks. And one particular day I was actually on News Talk, and I said, I want to talk to 𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗀𝗏. The committee wants to talk to 𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗏. And like that, like out of nowhere, right, walking along during the protest, a man arrives in a taxi and walks up towards us. And my mother was there, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗁, and my sister Lorraine, and my sister Suzanne, and Mick Bennett. He lost his brother in the Stardust, Richard Bennett. He was actually unidentified, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗏, and Mick is dead as well, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗀𝗏. But he approached, right, and I said, God, look at that poor old man getting out of the car. I remember so clearly. And he was kind of walking unstable. I said, don't tell me he's after coming down to help us. Right. So someone came up to me and said, that man down there wants to talk to you, Antoinette. And I said, right, okay. So I walked down, right, and everyone followed me. So when I went down, he said, you know who I am? And I said, I don't. No, I hadn't seen him in 25 years. He said, I'm 𝗵𝗶𝗿𝗏𝗂𝘀. And I said, oh, right. And I felt like I wanted a hole to be underneath me, right, and just sink right into the hole. I got the shivers up my spine. I said, oh, I'm meeting the man that killed my sisters, and meeting the man that was in there, right, and he didn't do anything to help us. And I said, I've nothing to say to you. I said, because you're intoxicated, you're drunk. I said, and he goes, well, you said you want to talk to me. I'm here now, talk to me. And I said, no, I've nothing to say to you. I walked away, and everyone followed me, right, my mother and all. And he persistently walked behind us and kept walking and walking behind us. And my mother turned around and she said, do you know you're standing on the blood of my 2 daughters and 46 other victims that died in this place? And he put his hands up and he said, I got away with it, didn't I? And he laughed at my ma. He laughed at my ma.
Was he drunk or?
Oh, he was intoxicated. He was intoxicated. His words is coming back now to haunt him.
Okay. That's a shocking story.
Yeah.
Not sure how to respond to that at all.
Well, that's what he done. My mother lost 2 children, and there was other families there, and they all witnessed it. And he said, I got away with it, didn't I?
Okay. Well, maybe he hasn't. And I'm sure that's whether he says it or not. It's had to follow him for his whole life. And what is the state of play now with the inquest exactly? You have an opening date and you have a location.
Yeah, we have the Rotunda Hospital, and we're hoping now the next meeting, I think, is on the 11th, but hasn't been confirmed with the coroner. And that's just to kind of finalize everything that happened there yesterday, right, with the disputes that's going on about the unlawful killing. The decision has been made, right, and we will receive it in correspondence from the coroner. But the 11th then is trying to finalize, like, you know, for the mill, right, then we're going into the Rotunda. So I think the first thing that's going to be done is all the families will get up and do the pen portraits, which is going to be very, very difficult.
Can you explain what that means, Antoinette?
A pen portrait of your loved one, right? Like you talk about your loved one, right? The day she was born, he was born. You talk about like their life, right? What they achieved, what they could have been, all their ambitions, right? And then like it's from being born to death.
That's a big responsibility because you'll be channeling your mother and father as well, who campaigned till the very end.
Yeah.
It's going to be that's going to be.
But they were my mother, father's included in the pen portrait. Couldn't leave them out.
Yeah.
Because they should have been there to read out their loved ones, right? Their children. But they're not going to be there because they were taken away too soon as well.
And tell me, if it's a case that the correspondence you get in the next few days says that unlawful killing has been taken off the table, will you guys be willing to go ahead with the inquest, or will you press that pause button until you tried? I suspect, or I assume that Dara Mackin, your legal representative, has had an input into the discussion.
The coroner can't remove a verdict, right? She hasn't got enough power. It's not in the power of the coroner to do. So if the coroner has already been threatened, right? If it's not removed, that the owner is going to take her to the High Court. So be it, right? If the High Court removes it, then we go to the High Court and appeal it.
Yeah, so bully boy tactics.
Yeah, because it's a right. This is not political interference anymore, right? These are everything that we've fought for 41 years. And at the end of the day, right, it's the rights to life of the 48 victims that perished in the Stardust. Their right to life was taken away from them. They've never been vindicated or validated for what they've been put through. They were branded arsonists for 27 years. They went there for a dance. They never came home. They paid that £3 and the Duty of Care Act was there. It wasn't applied. So it was literally...
Isn't there something even beyond that so the very immediate emotive thing is so important for the family, the victims, and everybody in the country. But isn't there something else really important, that irrespective of how long it takes, that if it transpires and the findings are that the Stardust Nightclub fire could have been avoided, that the proper regulations were not put in place, things like that, if that is the outcome of it, then even if it's after 40 years, somebody has to pay for that, because the message is otherwise that you can get away with these things. And so isn't it important that we show our young people particularly that even after 40 years, justice will be done?
Well, I think it's very important, like justice has to be done. Yeah, I do think that's very important. But the message out, right, is at the moment is, right, that all we want is the inquest to go ahead, for us to get, like, you know, a verdict recorded, because we've never had a verdict recorded. Like, we don't know what happened to our loved ones. We don't know how, why, or where they died. And this is important to us because they went out to enjoy themselves, right? Have a good night, innocent and all as we all were, right? We didn't expect what was going to happen that Friday the 13th or Saturday the 14th. Nobody expected it. Like, there's still, like, raw emotions, and like it's high tension, like it's just like systematic abuse that we've been sustaining from the Irish government, right? And we're putting the battle against them, right? We're human beings, right? They are human beings, right? Because they're higher in authority doesn't mean they're higher than us, right? They're still the same as us, and we won't let them judge us, and we're not judging them, but they're not ruling us and telling us that's it, it's over, right? You've got what you want, as they have done in the last 3 investigations. We're going to stand our ground, and we're going to get the truth of what happened to our loved ones. Yeah. And
I know it can never be over for you, Antoinette, because I've spoken to you on many occasions before, and it's so raw for you. We're not going to get into that now because I don't want to bring it up, but I just know it's so raw, and yourself and all of the other survivors and families, it's just like it happened yesterday for you. So there's no forgetting this. There's no letting this go. I know that from your point, your perspective. There is a vigil on Sunday, Antoinette. Could you let us know what's happening there, please?
I can, yeah. We're going to hold a candlelight vigil on the Stardust site at 1 o'clock. We'll have Charlie Board there, and he's going to be calling out the names, right, individually. Like, the first name will be Michael Barrett. Next to kin will go up, right, stand beside Charlie, and Charlie will present them a candle with their loved one's name on it. They then will light the candle and say a few words like, I am next to kin, right, whether it's mother, sister, brother, right, to Michael Barrett. I light this candle here today and pray for truth and justice for my brother. And then they walk down, and then the next name will be called out, which will be Richard Bennett, and so on, all down the whole list. Anticipate that lasting probably about a half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. Again, all the 48 families go up and collect the candle. So after Charlie hands out all the candles, we're going to have Christy Moore then. He's going to sing the song They Never Came Home. And like, it'll be sad because both Charlie and Christy have been there to support us for our 40
That was written specifically about Stardust, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was actually Christy Moore knew about the Stardust, and it was actually what my mother had said, like when a reporter went up to her, well, what did you find them? And my ma said, no, they never came home. So them words was the name of the song. Christy Moore heard me ma saying them, and he said, I'm going to write a song. And he wrote the song. And in fairness to like him, like he's been obviously a huge supporter to us, right? He's always been there when we need him, and he's coming along, and the families are elated, they're excited, right? Not excited, but they're delighted that he's coming, right? Because he's been a huge support to us, and they're just looking forward to seeing him and Charlie Bird.
Yeah. And hopefully
it's kind of like a new beginning for them. Right, we're on the road now, on the right road, right? We're getting the inquest, and this is probably the first time in 40 years, the 41st anniversary, that we're moving closer to getting the truth.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll have a good crowd, so any politicians looking on might decide, even if it is out of their own self-interest, might decide to put a pretty pressure on to ensure that the juries do get paid, and to ensure that there is a proper, a just and a transparent inquest after 41 years. Antoinette, Keegan, thanks for joining us this evening. We hope to be going live ourselves from the vigil on Sunday, so that anybody who can't get there from Donegal to Cork will be able to see what's happening, and will be able to listen and find out about your family and your loved ones a little bit more.
And would that include like overseas as well, Finbar?
Say that again, Antoinette.
Would that include overseas? Like,
oh, anybody who wants to watch it will be able to watch it. Yeah,
like Canada, like because a couple of the families live in Canada, and like some of my family live in America and all that.
They want to tune into 𝗵𝗶 Media at the time of the vigil. Do you want to give our viewers just the details of the vigil one more time and the time?
Yeah, we're having a candlelight vigil on the Stardust site, which is on the Kilmore Road. It's opposite McDonald, or opposite Artane Castle. And it's like, as you walk in, you'll see Mr. Price. It's actually on the site where the Stardust happened. So you'll see a big plaque there with the 48 names and 48 photographs of all the victims going right across.
That's happening on Sunday at what time, Antoinette?
Sunday at the 13th at 1 p.m.
Fantastic. And hopefully we'll get a good crowd there, because I do know that the people of Dublin, particularly historically, have been very, very supportive of the Justice for the 48 campaign, and I doubt they're going to drop it now. Antoinette, thanks for joining us.
We'd appreciate anyone that's coming along Finbar, right? If they can bring a candle and like light it as well for justice and truth and justice for the 48.
That's great, Antoinette. I'll talk to you on Sunday.
We want to thank everyone that's like going to come along, right? We would sincerely appreciate all the help that we've got in the past, and we would welcome anyone that wants to come along. We will welcome with open arms.
Fantastic. I'll be talking to you on Sunday, Antoinette. Until then, you be safe and keep strong.
Thanks very much, Finbar.
Night night.
Night night.